mean, I thought this guy's name was etched in stone with the New York Knicks, and I'm pretty surprised that this will happen right before the trade deadline, a week before All-Star. But it's time for a change for the Knicks.
I'm not shocked at all. If you're going to make a change, make it before the trade deadline, because Steve Mills is trying to save his job, not save the Knicks. Two different things. I'm moving on with whoever I want to save the Knicks.
Oh, they are moving on. Welcome to the Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. I'm here with two Hall of Famers, Jackie McMullen, our insider, and six-time champion, Scottie Pippen. And coming up, Adrian Wojnarowski will be joining the Jump to break down what is next for the Knicks. Wow. Because this story just will not stop. First, though, I want to go over exactly what we're dealing with. On a day when Ben Simmons called his own team soft and Steph Curry and John Morant are going at it on social media, it's, of course, the Knicks who managed to top them all. Even when this franchise manages to do something right, they do it wrong. Yes, of course you fire President Steve Mills, who has led New York to the NBA's worst record since being put back in charge of the team more than 6 years ago. Knicks fans have been begging for this move for years. But to do it today, 2 days before the trade deadline, Adrian Wojnarowski says Mills was working the phones trying to trade for D'Angelo Russell as recently as yesterday. So now what? Are those trade offers still good? Or does GM Scott Perry go all Al Haig here and start making his own decisions? There is plenty of speculation. This is part of owner James Dolan's campaign to lure Toronto's Masai Ujiri to New York, which I mean, first, Ujiri is under contract to the Raptors for not just this season, but next season, so hiring him would not be as simple as sending in a LinkedIn request. Second, let's remember the last time Dolan set in motion a massive change to his organization because he was so sure he would be able to bag a bigger, hotter name out there. The team traded their unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis, for largely cap room, and then Dolan went on the radio and said this.
New York is the mecca of basketball, right? And we hear from people all the time, right? From players, from, representatives. It's about who wants to come. We can't respond because of the NBA rules, et cetera, but that doesn't stop them from telling us.
Right.
And they do. And I can tell you from what we've heard, I think we're going to have a very successful offseason when it comes to free agents.
So, anyone remember how that worked out? Anyone?
Wrong team in New York?
But Woj and Ramona Shelburne are also reporting that Ujiri isn't the only one in Dolan's sights, that he is also considering following the model set by the Warriors and the Lakers, who hired former agents to run their basketball operations. By definition, unless he is actually going to pluck Bob Myers or Rob Pelinka specifically from their current gigs, though, that means that he wants to hire someone who either has never done this job before or certainly hasn't been doing it recently. And really, whoever it is, you'd have to think they would have serious reservations about taking a job under these circumstances. This is basically what Dolan is saying. Hey, please come to our organization that has a history of wild instability, incompetence, misogyny, and a North Korea-like monitoring of employees' words and communications, and do it at a time of particular chaos. Chaos I've created by firing my team president 2 days before the trade deadline. Even for the man who threw franchise icon Charles Oakley out of the Garden, this is colossally mystifying behavior. The only thing I can really trace it back to was a few nights ago when fans were yelling, "Sell the team," during the Knicks' home loss to Memphis. Is Dolan's ego really so fragile he would throw the most valuable franchise in the NBA into turmoil again over some schoolyard chants? Do I really even need to answer that? Knicks fans deserve better. I just don't know if they're going to get it anytime soon. Adrian Wojnarowski, save the people of New York. Please tell them something. Give them anything that can quantify as hope. What is going on here and what happens next?
Well, what's going on is obviously, Jim Dolan has changed their leadership again. And this is the second time Steve Mills has gone out from, that president's position. He came back one time, and his second run was really as unsuccessful as the first one. Scott Perry will continue as their general manager for the foreseeable future, I'm told. And, Masai Ujiri had been a target for a very long time with Jim Dolan. He privately shared that with many people. He had been on the wrong side of trades with him, with Denver, with Toronto. And obviously, Ujiri has gone on to become one of the elite GMs in all the league. But I'm told that right now it is a real difficult pathway for them to be able to get at Ujiri. He's got 2 years left on his deal, and they want to move quicker here to find somebody. The Knicks, another thing too, they don't want to give compensation up, draft compensation for an executive who's under contract. So the way it's playing out, I'm told right now, is that they're going to move sooner than later on their search, and I'm told they've already talked to people, potential candidates. This firing has been at least a few days in the making. I think it was inevitable. The timing of it, I think, is what became. I think in the last couple of days that he felt he needed to do it before the trade deadline. He started to take several of the trade conversations over in recent days. He put Marcus Morris out on the market, who wasn't on the market. But as recently as yesterday, Steve Mills was on the phone trying to work on himself a D'Angelo Russell trade with Golden State that really had no traction.
Woj, though, that's the thing. If he wanted to get someone new in place before the trade deadline, he could have done this months ago. If he wanted to do it months from now, when Masai Ujiri didn't have as much left on his current contract as he does now, and maybe some of those assets they'd have to give up to get him wouldn't be as significant, I could sort of put my head around that. I still can't quite understand why you do this 2 days before the trade deadline. Has there been any answer on that?
Well, Rachel, you're trying to assign real-world logic to Jim Dolan's decision-making, and it hasn't traditionally fit. You know, the one deal that they can do in the short term, and they have been engaged with, is Marcus Morris. I mean, that's kind of a cut and dry. What kind of assets can we get for a player who has great value on the market? Most contenders would like to get at Morris. So does that mean, a first-round pick, a first and a second and an expiring, or a young player? Whatever that is, that's an easier deal to execute on a player that Dolan's just going to say, hey, we're not worried about re-signing him long-term. Let's get some assets for him. But they've got to look beyond just a couple, moves like that here in the next few days. They've got to look at the broader, the broader picture for the Knicks organization. Ramona Shelburne and I reported a short time ago, one area that Dolan has already started to consider is the player agent pool for a potential president candidate. You've seen the success Bob Myers had in Golden State, Rob Pelinka, the team that they built with the Lakers, and even the general manager, Justin Zanuck in Utah, although he worked in the front office before he became a GM, but was a longtime agent. That's a place he's spending some time looking at now. But there's going to be, and people, you would think that given how Dolan has run the organization and how it has ate up people, it has spit them out, that this is a job that elite GMs wouldn't want any part of. And I don't believe that's true. I think there are plenty of top-level executives, especially in smaller markets, who would love a crack at what it means to have the Knicks platform, to have the resources, to still have that great Madison Square Garden stage. And if they could just figure out a way with Jim Dolan to make that work. But if you look back at their last few searches, Rachel, they have never gone after who you would consider, the elite of the profession, guys who've, had successful playoff runs, who've won championships, who've been executive of the year. Really the last one, Donnie Walsh, when he came in, and Donnie did a really good job in his run there. They haven't done that.
Why would you ever want to repeat that? I mean, you look at a Sam Presti, right? You look at some of these guys who are in, as you say, smaller markets who have given the platform. I think that's what's so frustrating for Knicks fans, for people, frankly, like me around the NBA. The Knicks are this amazing untapped asset. They are the most valuable franchise in the league. They have a tremendous fan base. Their popularity around the world globally is unmatched, and yet they have not been run in a way that matches that kind of quality of a team. And when you talk to me about potential agents, Rob Pelinka had a real learning curve when he got to the Lakers. The idea that this franchise, which frankly is a mess in so many ways right now, with the way the books are, the players are, who's on the roster, what kind of contracts they have to deal with. Why would James Dolan want to put that in the hands of someone who has potentially never done this job before in any way?
I think the one element that it's come back to me a little bit on is recruiting, but that's not the model. Like, what recruits players to any free agent destination is having an infrastructure, having an organization that is appealing to people. Look at what Sean Marks and Kenny Atkinson did in Brooklyn. Look what Doc Rivers, Lawrence Frank, Steve Ballmer did with the Clippers. Those weren't free agent destinations until the organizations were run better. And even the Lakers, before Magic came back and Rob Pelinka came in, they had struck out on a lot of significant free agents. They weren't just getting players or top free agents because of geography, but it has been shown if you run your organization well in a big market, you're going to be appealing to all-star level players. And there's still a frustration in this league in the smaller markets, no matter how well they run their organization. In the end, they're still feeders to L.A., New York. Pat Riley has been able to do that.